I still have my armor up debuff, and while the quick thing is still around, so I still take less damage from their attacks here. Alright, we do not have enough for Nightfall or Guillotine. Talon down. Reem is back. Welcome back. Do I just attack at this point? He doesn't take much damage. I think I go for Rending Cut here, maybe. It costs me 757 HP. It gives me 165 back. I lose my armor up though. I'm going to go for regular attacks. We just win. I think we won. Hey, the strategy worked, but it could be improved. I think if we reset the status via the time magic, that would have been successful. Wow. You came in at the right time, you did. Holy cow. We got it. By the way, in case you're curious about the timer, I intentionally did not start it this time around because right now, technically speaking, it really is not accurate. After the stream yesterday, which I think we ended the stream at like 10 PM or something, I kind of took a break, went to do other stuff, and then I kind of came back. And I was just kind of testing and theory crafting things until like 2 AM, then I went to bed. Then I couldn't sleep, then I woke back up to test more things. So there's probably like 5, 6, 7 more hours in there in that timer. But hey, we got it! True final boss down. That was that first try when I started the stream today? Because I did attempt this actually like 20-30 times. Yes, it was interesting. I did attempt this exact setup 20 to 30 times before I started the stream. I started doing local recordings just in case I get it. And then at some point I felt like, you know, might as well just stream this too. Oh well. Hey General, you're down to 100 items on your hardcore P8 career. That's pretty hardcore. Wow. Alrighty. We have managed to complete the True Solo Character Challenge. I don't actually remember whether the ending is any different. But hey. We won at the end. Kia, thank you. Thank you so much for 25 months of support. Welcome back. I'm glad you enjoy your stay. But as you could see, there's actually a lot of things that could have gone wrong. With Astley having a 56% chance to dodge, we needed to hit so many times in a row. Chloe had to use Protect turn 1, or as the first buff rather than everything else, so... yeah, I guess it worked out. And have a nice day, Northrex. You just got here, says GG, it is! Well, I guess I started my stream just at about the right time too then, huh? And yes, we just got it, Risalizer. Alrighty. We watched these credits yesterday when we finished the regular thing. Can we actually interrupt these? I have no idea whether you can stop these credits. To be fair, I do kind of appreciate them, because it's a really neat game. So, maybe let me actually tell you a few things. So, yesterday we left off with the note that, hey, Samurai could be interesting. And that's kind of where I begin my testing. I kind of tried out Samurai, because Samurai has a potential for a tremendous amount of damage in one turn, thanks to its abilities being a free action, as long as you have enough AP. The Samurai passive, if you are mainline Samurai, is plus 30 maximum AP. Then also the Samurai armor gives you also again plus 30 maximum AP. Now, I actually, in my first attempt, I went just completely random with all power-up gear and basically very little survivability. And I did actually manage to get Astley down with a Samurai. I'm reasonably certain I got really lucky with my hits, but I do feel like Samurai may be a road to success as well. The biggest issue, as you might be able to tell, is the survivability. But yeah, spawning meadows. We have made it back. With this, the Solo Cactus Challenge run is complete. For anybody who has not seen our setup, we were Reaper to get more maximum HP as we deal physical damage, which by the way does not heal up the maximum HP, you just get more maximum. Time Magic was actually really integral, because Reaper alone was good damage, but Time Magic I felt like was kind of the key I ended up overlooking. Both for keeping the initial power buff alive from the Cross Helmet, which only lasts one turn, but with just enough MP, we managed to keep up the power buff alive with Status Amp and Quick Turns, which also, the Quick Turns allowed us to attack twice. Kind of another reason why I feel like I overlooked Time Magic, at least initially, because getting 2 turns in a row to try and knock out Astley is so much more reliable than hoping for a critical checkmate hit with the Fencer. The Fencer had better potential to defeat Talon through Feather Cut, and we almost got it when we had that set up and got that specific scenario yesterday. But because the probability of getting to that point was so low, I was just constantly searching for other stuff. Lifeline Sword, which is a really strong sword, minus 30% maximum HP but 25% physical lifesteal. Without lifesteal, you just gain maximum HP as a Reaper and you don't actually heal it up. Dueling Shield gives us an additional counter, which stacks by the way with counter passive, so you actually counter attack twice. Cross Helmet gave us 1 turn of power up. That's all we needed, because we extended that 1 turn. The Valkyrie Mail counteracted the bleed debuff, but if I was smarter about it, apparently, thanks to Rafair, there actually would have been a better solution to that. We could have used the Rewind, which resets your HP and statuses and buffs to what it was the previous turn, which would be amazing to just kind of circumvent getting the bleed debuff by Talon. But Valkyrie Mail worked as well, but with actually that knowledge, I feel like we would have a lot more freedom in which armor we could use. The Mimic Mail would give you slightly better defense and 10% more physical damage, which honestly, that could have also made a difference for just more damage. But, well, it was fine in the end, I guess. Then we also have, of course, the Undead Ring and the Bone Trophy. Both give us 35% more physical damage and 35% less physical damage taken. Although both of them have rather significant downsides. Undead Ring less so for a solo character that relies on lifesteal, but the Bone Trophy's minus maximum HP is basically the reason why we had to go with main Reaper for the passive. But yeah. You wonder how Rewind would work with Reaper fake maximum HP? Yeah, I was wondering about that too, because I've never even thought about it. Maybe another reason as to why I should have streamed this earlier, so more ideas come in, because there's certainly always something that I'm overlooking. Alrighty, now, to give you a brief idea. I have 57 save slots, and we left off last time with this... No, actually, was it even earlier? No, it was this one. This is the save slot we left off last time there, or more specifically with this one. And then I tested Samurai again, tested Samurai some more, tested some Reaper, tested some more Assassin builds. I even had the idea of Reaper with spell lifesteal and counter-attacking via the Wizard passive, but you actually deal too little damage for that to work. I tried some things with main Warlock. I even went briefly Summoner because I was trying out like the Zap Rod with trying to steal back HP, but it was just not enough. Plus, by the way, the Zap Rod on a counter-attack just does physical damage, because counter is its own type of attack rather than you doing a regular attack back to the enemy, which kind of makes sense in hindsight. And then, well, we arrived here. Welcome to Golastu. We just completed the game, or more specifically the solo challenge. I hope you're doing well. I'm very surprised that we just got it first try, because as I said, I've done like 20-30 attempts with this particular setup offline. But yeah. Well, developer said there's going to be some... what's the word? Some randomizer, some more stuff. Maybe an actual solo character challenge mode. We'll see. Did we kill a true one? Yes, we did. It just kind of happened to work out in the end. And let me actually briefly go through the classes. I believe we've kinda used most of them in some capacity. I don't entirely remember where we may have used the warrior. Warrior was actually quite interesting. I think we did use Warrior at least here and there, because it's decent physical damage, plus you get stances that can help you either deal more damage or take less physical damage. Monk was kind of the early game MVP, because especially when you don't have too many job classes yet, the healing that you can get from Chakra, where it's 30% per turn, I believe it's actually nerfed, that was 35% at some point. It's really good. You can remove your own debuffs. You can even hit multiple enemies as long as they're not floating. You can do an attack that never misses and stuff like that. Basically, Monk in the early game was kind of mostly keeping us alive, and especially the counter passive pretty much was integral to the run for, well, most of the solo character challenge run. Rogue, well, I didn't initially think it was gonna be terribly useful. Honestly, the most useful thing ended up being able to put enemies to sleep with just little investment, and then being able to set up. Most of the other abilities cannot really be used because you need multiple characters, but being able to run away and steal actually helped generate a ton of money. Cleric, we used only very sparingly. The main thing we used is Blackout against enemies and bosses that dealt fire-based damage, because taking 100% less fire damage is really good against them. Wizard actually ended up being surprisingly interesting with the Storm Stance counter, which allows you to counterattack, but it's a stance, so it couldn't be paired with some of our accessories. But simultaneously, with enough spell lifesteal, this actually could keep you alive quite well. Yeah, Warlock definitely was also the MVP for the early game alongside Monk. Just how simple but straightforward and powerful the abilities and passives are is just really good. Fencer kind of ended up being a bit of a very specific class that was specifically useful in some circumstances. Basically learned a lot about the Fencer during this solo playthrough. Shaman we did not actually use much for outside of trying to use lifesteal, but I don't remember using it much. Scholar similarly, like considering how strong Blue Mage is in Final Fantasy V, kind of expected to use Scholar more than I ended up doing, but I think the biggest limiting factor has always been the MP cost for everything. Aegis, alongside Chemist, it was basically the setup. Now do a 0 damage taken run. I know. Aegis alongside Chemist was kind of our go-to combination against physical enemies. As long as they were slower than us, or at least not much faster, you could just indefinitely survive, more or less, against bosses. We didn't deal much damage with this combo, but we also didn't take much damage. Hunter, I think I used Hunter a little bit for grinding, but that was about it. Reaper, kind of the sleeper MVP, I feel. I kind of didn't even use Reaper much for the longest time, because honestly I just had no experience with it, but it basically just self-sustains so insanely well with its abilities and attacks. It was really crazy good, honestly. So if I do a regular playthrough again and I get a Reaper, it's probably gonna be my tank at that point, with all the silly things on top of it. Ninja. Ninja we actually ended up using quite a bit. And one of the most useful things about it was to be able to guarantee dodge attacks if we had enough evasion. Turns out most bosses you can't guarantee evasion on without using Utsuzemi, and that was not really good enough for my taste. But there were a few bosses we just could literally not get hit by. Even if they had some magic, we actually even had Kawakage for 2 magical hits evaded, if necessary. But yeah, it was kind of neat to have a different way of dealing with bosses sometimes. Even if Chemist and Aegis were just technically always working for that too. Nomad was also very neat, with its various stances. I think we used it in a number of places, although I don't really recall which ones. Dervish, I think maybe I used Dervish and Nomad to... oh yeah, the cube boss. That worked pretty well. Because Dervish passive is to gain MP back every time you gain AP, and Nomad actually uses AP up for casting spells. Beatsmith, we never really used Beatsmith directly, but leveling up as a Beatsmith gives you the highest speed and really high health value with decent strength. That was actually really important overall. Samurai, honestly, I feel like Samurai could have been useful in some instances, and there might be a reasonably viable strategy against the true final boss with just the Samurai main and something else. But yeah, haven't really used it much. Assassin, well, if we could one-shot something, it was really good. But outside of using the Assassin specifically against the Ibeck boss, I don't really recall much for it. But there, it was a very luck-based strategy, but we eventually got through. Valkyrie, well, let's put it this way, not taking any damage over time effect damage was really nice to have, and it even has some self-heals as well. So, it's kind of neat. Summoner, we really only used Summoner for the summon bosses because we had to be, but it was actually quite a fun challenge to try and defeat all the summon bosses as a mainline Summoner, because if the other 3 characters didn't exist, we couldn't just put them in the Summoner dress on the floor, right? So that was kind of an additional fun challenge on top of it. Beastmaster here. I think Beastmaster ended up actually being more useful than I initially expected it, thanks to Feast having 100% lifesteal on the attack. I don't remember where exactly I used it, but I remember using it. Now the Jugular, of course, allowing us to just kill some stuff instantly. Did I even use this in the solo challenge? I think I did. Weaver? Well, Weaver I think I used Weaver a lot in my casual playthrough, but in the solo challenge I feel like this was the kind of a job that I overlooked quite a bit for a secondary, because Quick Weaver effectively is more or less Like, I think of it as a spellcasting job, but really, it just goes with anything because double turns, haste, slow can be really good. Used feast versus some fun summons for other late-ish bosses? Yeah, that sounds about right. Did we kill all the training dummies? Yes, we did. The main training dummy uses mainly physical attacks, and with Alchemist or Chemist and Aegis it was easy enough. And Mimic. Honestly, another thing I kinda slept on is that Mimic, if you are main Mimic, the Mimic's passive describes you that gain the innate passives of your current subclass. So basically, if we were main Mimic, we could equip literally all equipment. We would still have the passive of, let's say, the Reaper, and then subsequently also gain our own passives. For some reason I overlooked that for quite a while, and I feel like, especially in conjunction with a Reaper and maybe some other classes, that could have been pretty potent as well. Alrighty, but aside from that, I think we're done. That was a short stream. I did not expect to win first time. So, everybody, thank you so much for watching, thank you so much for listening and for lurking. I hope you enjoyed your stay. We're done with this challenge. Wednesday is gonna be the next stream. And sorry for not streaming today, I wasn't in the mindset for it until, well, a few hours into me just testing and probing strategies for this game, where I finally started to realize I had a real shot with this strategy. And while I actually really enjoy theory crafting alongside the viewers, it's also just doubly exhausting as well, because I'm not good at social communication stuff. So sometimes it's just easier to literally sit in silence and brood about things. Like, I mute the game occasionally just because why not? Alrighty everybody, take care, and until our next adventure, bye bye.